Welcome back to the Master Your Money podcast with me, your host, Marini Jackson, your guide to building wealth, mastering your credit, and creating financial freedom. Let's get into today's episode. So, today we're going to be talking about your pathway to financial freedom. And we're going to use a bit of the Master Your Money framework. Now, with the Master Your Money framework, again, I am just pulling up my notes so I don't forget anything that I wanted to share. Um, this is definitely a simple and value driven roadmap for anyone who wants to get started on their journey and to move with purpose. And remember, your financial journey isn't about perfection, it's about you having clarity, progress, and consistency. So, the first thing with your financial freedom, I love this scripture, and the church I grew up in, our pastor would always read this scripture, and it talks about being transformed by the renewing of your mind. And the M can stand for so many things. Yes, we want to manage our money, we want to master our money, and we can talk about the importance of those things, but also it starts here. It starts with your mind, your mindset. What do you think about money? And before you write a budget, before you even start saving or investing or thinking about, I want to buy a home, I want to give charitably, I want to leave money and things to my family. What is your mindset? What are you thinking about money? Can you manage well? Do you tell yourself that you can't manage money? And whatever you think you are, or whatever you think you're not, or you can't do, you're right, because that is your mindset. So money is a tool. It's not your identity. Some people, I hear all the time about people who grew up poor and then they become massively wealthy. And I've also read about people who've been poor become massively wealthy and lose it all. But they have the mindset and they gain it all back. And some people, because when they lose it all, they didn't have a mindset to know how to get it back. They sometimes are in a worse state than they were before they accumulated all of the wealth that they had. And your progress, it matters more than your mistakes. Like I said, some people lose and get it all back. They've mastered that mindset of what they need to do. But others, they made it part of their identity, and money is not your identity. Money, again, as I said, is just a tool for you to use. So your mindset is going to determine whether you're controlling the money or it's controlling you. So you want to make sure that whatever stories you're telling yourself, instead of saying, oh, I'm bad with money, oh, my husband handles all the money, I don't know anything about money, replace those thoughts and those words with, I'm learning how money works, I'm learning more about money. So the mind, your mind is the first step in managing your money. And the second thing is organization. Being organized with your money, your finances, and you can't imagine what you can't see. Excuse me. I had a coach once, and she had a book club, and she would have us read various books. And she told us the reason why I'm having you read these books is because you need to train your mind. You need to train your mind on, thinking about the money. Think not in a bad way, but thinking about, what it is that I'm going to do to earn, this wealth, thinking about, can you see yourself having money? Do you see yourself as always, whatever, poor? Do you always see yourself as a single mom? Do you always see yourself as living paycheck to paycheck? Or can you see yourself as being able to buy, the things that you want and need, being able to pay off your debts, being able to help your family, being able to take the trips you want to take? And that helped. Like at first I was like, honestly, I was like, oh, this is a little wonky. But now I see, I see what it does. I, even she even had us have vision boards, and I know a lot of people that's very popular. Beginning of the year, do vision boards, but I would literally walk past my vision board and look at it, and I didn't know quite how I was going to get there, but I knew that by, you know, getting the coaching, getting the mentoring, reading the books, being consistent in the small things, that I would reach those goals over time. And I'm definitely very thankful I can say that numerous items on my vision board I've been able to accomplish because I was able to see myself paying off my student loans. I didn't see myself staying in debt forever with those. I was able to, you know, have that organization. Number one, I was able to organize and have clarity about my plan to pay off those debts. I will say also, in addition to my student loans, at the time when I was, with this particular coach and mentor, I also had, I was also paying car payments. And I will never forget, a few years ago when I made that final car payment, I was literally, you know, tracking and organizing. I knew how much income I had coming in. I knew what my bills were. I knew the due dates of my bills. And I knew exactly where my money was going. And if I saw I had a little extra, then I would actually calculate, if I put this number of dollars towards my, paying off my car, how soon can I pay this car off? And by the time it got to the last car payment, I don't even think I paid the full dollar amount of what that normal car payment was, because I've been adding a little extra along the way. So I knew, like I said, I was organized. So I knew exactly where the money was going, how I was going to pay off that debt, and I was able to get it done. So organizing your 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 finances and staying organized, it reduces financial stress for you, and that becomes a strategy. So organize your finances so you can have a strategy. So one thing you can do to help you with that is, you want to make sure you list all of your accounts, everything that you owe. That was something I did. I actually went uh, onto an online calculator. I forgot exactly. It was like a debt payoff type calculator, and it hurt to put down everything that I owed. I was like, wow, that's a lot of money, but it helped me it helped give me a strategy on, this is the debt I want to tackle first. So, with listing the accounts, the balances, the monthly obligations, and also the interest rates for those, it helped me to be, very organized. And that way, once I paid off the credit card, not credit card, excuse me, once I paid off my car, I knew student loan, that was the next major thing. Or I then, this credit card, and so on and so forth. So that helped me tremendously with being organized. Also, you need to navigate your finances and know exactly where you are. As I said, with the debt payoff, we just talked about that. Also, you need to be able to distinguish between your needs and your wants. Because when you have that financial freedom, your freedom grows when your spending is matching your values. And excuse me for getting the hair out of my eye, but you want to prioritize what you actually need and the reduce impulse spending. Now, I have a quick story about this, and I shared this, um, I think last week with someone. I make my budget every single month and made my budget out, and I knew there wasn't a lot of wiggle room in certain categories, but I really wanted this particular type of food from a particular restaurant. And I told myself, well, I'll just treat myself this one time. I was picturing in my head exactly what I was going to order. And, I've ordered it at this particular restaurant, so I knew how much it would cost. And I it was one of my favorite meals, so I was like imagining in my head how it would taste and just the experience of going to the restaurant, eating this nice meal. And I literally, I'd driven to the restaurant, I parked my car, and then I checked my bank account. And I knew that I had other financial obligations, my bills that will be coming out on certain dates. And after I looked at my bank account, I told myself, you know what? Having this meal right now at this restaurant isn't worth throwing off my budget. And nothing is ever worth throwing off your budget. Let me put that out there. But for me, that made me, that impulse want made me, turn my car back on and go drive home and eat something that I already had at the house. So reduce your impulse spending. If you have to call a friend, that's with you on this journey of financial freedom, call a friend. Tell them, hey, I'm at the store, I'm in the parking lot, I'm at the register, or I'm in the line, and let them talk you down from the ledge if you can't talk yourself down. And you really have to make that conscious effort to reduce those impulse buys. Or what some people do, and I've done this as well, give yourself a small budget, whether it's weekly, so you're not feeling deprived. Because if you're budgeting every single dollar, which is great, but you also want to make sure that you are enjoying life as well, that you're not so tight with every single penny that once you do get to a point where you may have extra income, that you just go overboard. And that's the same concept that people use with things like dieting. If you're someone who's like, well, I'm going to simply eat these particular foods, and I'm never going to eat bread again, I'm never going to eat rice, I'm never going to eat carbs, I'm never going to eat sugar, and all of these different things. And then you go to your niece or nephew's birthday party and they have a pizza party, and your nephew or niece wants auntie or uncle to have a piece of cake and some ice cream, and you have a piece, and then that turns into 3 pieces, and you just become out of control. We don't want that. We want you to definitely have a balance, enjoy your life, but definitely reduce that impulse spending. You also want to make sure that you're navigating in your finances, excuse me, in addition to your needs and wants, your savings and investing as well. And make sure you're giving every dollar a job. Make sure every dollar is going somewhere, because sometimes when you have those dollars in your bank account, and you're like, oh, well, I've paid everything off and I can go buy a new shirt or a pair of shoes. And sometimes you may spend more than you actually intended. But when you give every dollar a purchase, or every dollar a job, not a purchase, you give it an assignment. But when it doesn't have a job, it will find one without your permission. Like I said, I could have eaten out that day, or you could buy that shirt or those shoes and accidentally overspend. So pause, pump the brakes, and ask yourself, does this support my goals? And I literally did. I literally that day, sat in the car, looked at the bank account, and then asked myself, you know, does going to this restaurant support my goals right now? And it didn't. And again, like I said, I just cranked the car up and drove home. Now, E, you want to make sure you are educating yourself. You're using this podcast, you're reading books, you're taking advantage of whether it's community workshops, if you're employed, if your employer has a partner for their employee 401k or retirement plan, if they offer financial workshops, if they offer opportunities to sit down to speak with one of their representatives, take those opportunities. Many times those conversations are free. Now they may represent a particular company and may share their financial products with you that can be a benefit to you. It's totally your choice if you want to take advantage of those, but educate yourself on matters of finance. That goes back to the mindset of not saying I'm bad with money, but I'm learning more about money. I'm growing in this area. And also with the E, you want to make sure that you are doing things like eliminating your debts, that you are saving, that you are investing. And with things like debt, when you're in debt, it's delaying your freedom. And that doesn't disqualify you from becoming financially free, but you want to make sure that you move from a place of maybe embarrassment or shame to actually having a game plan and a strategy to uh, to tackle your debt, to reduce, and then also to eliminate your debt. And you want to do things that are going to help you work towards you. We talked in a prior podcast about credit cards, how you can leverage that as a tool for you to build your credit and use some of the rewards and advantages that can help you. You want to avoid any unnecessary debt that you don't have to take out, and you want to have small wins and celebrate those wins, even if it's something like, well, I'm going to sit and watch a movie, have popcorn. That could be just something small, inexpensive you can do at home or with your family. Um, so remember, with your finances, with your debt, and even with educating yourself financially, it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So choose one thing that you're going to focus on and tackle that one thing wisely. And you want to finally make sure that you have fruit. You are yielding fruit, that you're thinking about your future, what you want to do. And that is different for everyone. Someone who may be a 20-year-old first time or college graduate may have different goals than someone who is uh, in their early 60s who is approaching retirement. But you want to think about your future. What results do you want to yield? What fruit do you want to have? And this is how wealth is built. So you want to have control over your finances, but looking forward, the emergency fund, making sure you're investing. Do you have a home? Do you want to become a homeowner? That is a step in building wealth for many people. And then also, what impact do you want to make? And a lot of people, they think everything is about the bag, chasing the bag. What is that chase for? What is your pursuit? What impact do you want to make? Do you want to leave maybe a foundation or charity in your name, or leave or have a charity or foundation in your name that supports a particular cause? Do you want to have an endowed scholarship at your alma mater? Do you want to give generously to your church? Do you care about missions? Do you want to start your own company, nonprofit organization, or things in the community that can really help and make a difference in other people's lives? So these are some things to think about. And then also, and definitely most importantly, what impact do you want to make in your family and for future generations after you're gone? So you want to make sure that your financial freedom and your wealth isn't just about, as a as I said, chasing the bag, the money that you make, but how you're also preparing for tomorrow, and you're preparing your family for tomorrow, and what legacy you want to have to leave once you're gone. So pick one short-term financial goal for yourself. Excuse me, that could be something as simple as, I'm going to start an emergency fund. I'm going to start saving this week. I'm going to open up a high yield savings account. Or it can be a long term goal of, I'm going to get life insurance so that way when I pass away, my family won't have to scramble and find a GoFundMe account, that they can have peace of mind knowing that financially, whatever final end of life expenses, they're covered because I have life insurance. They don't have to sell my home because I made wise financial plans when I was alive. And I'm able to give finances to my family so that they can, whether they want to buy a car, a house, or keep your home and not have to sell it or feel that it's a headache or a burden, or even if they wanted to sell it, then they can use those funds and split those among your relatives how you may desire. So there are a lot of things to think about and to consider with your money and your finances. So you want to make sure that you're using this simple framework, because you know it's very intentional and it's very sustainable. So again, you want to make sure that you're managing your finances and also managing your mindset, that you can do this. You can definitely do this, and that you're going to have